Flexion. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Life will test you, not with storms you can see coming, but with people who smile in your face and drain your spirit the moment you turn your back. Reflection. You'll meet them in workplaces, friendships, maybe even your own family. And if you're not careful, they'll make you believe you're the problem. Reflection. But here's the truth. You don't have to fight them, fix them, or fear them. You just have to decide something once. And once you do, reflection, they'll never have the same power over you again. The moment you decide that your peace is priceless, everything in your life starts to shift. Reflection. You stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop allowing chaos to sit at your table just because it arrived early. Reflection. You begin to understand that not everyone deserves access to your energy. See, toxic people don't take your peace in one dramatic blow. They take it piece by piece. A small argument here, reflection. A guilt trip there, a silent treatment to make you question your worth. But the day you say no more is the day you take your power back. Peace doesn't come wrapped in applause. Reflection, it doesn't announce itself with fireworks. It shows up quietly the moment you stop responding to every provocation, every insult, every attempt to pull you into someone else's storm. Reflection. Peace is not passive. It's powerful. It's not about ignoring life's noise. It's about choosing which noise deserves your attention. Reflection. When you realize that your peace is your responsibility, you stop giving it away so cheaply. You stop letting anger drive your reactions. Reflection. Because you finally see that peace and reaction cannot live in the same heart. You can't control how people act, but you can control how you respond. Reflection. And that choice, your choice, determines the quality of your life. Every time you hold your tongue, when someone tries to push your buttons, reflection. Every time you walk away instead of engaging in another pointless argument, you're declaring to the world that your peace is sacred ground. Don't confuse stillness with weakness. Reflection. It takes strength to keep calm when chaos surrounds you. It takes discipline to choose silence when every part of you wants to scream. But when you master that stillness, reflection, you gain something priceless, clarity. You start to see people as they are, not as you wish them to be. You stop fighting battles that don't build you. Reflection. Toxic people lose their grip the moment you refuse to dance to their rhythm. They crave reaction, not reflection. They want you loud, emotional, unstable, because that's where they win. Reflection. But when you choose calm over conflict, when you choose inner peace over outer validation, you win without even fighting. So make that decision once and for all. Your peace is not for sale. Reflection, not for manipulation, not for negotiation. Guard it, protect it. Treat it like oxygen, because it is. The world will always have noise, but you don't have to let that noise live inside you. Reflection. When peace becomes your priority, toxic people become powerless. When you start setting boundaries without apology, your entire world begins to realign. Reflection. You stop over-explaining yourself to people who were never listening in the first place. You stop bending until you break, trying to please everyone while slowly losing yourself in the process. Reflection. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They're gates that decide who earns the right to come in. They are the language of self-respect. Reflection. The invisible lines that tell others how to treat you. And once you begin enforcing them, you'll notice something. Those who truly care will respect them. Reflection. And those who only came to take will disappear. That's not loss, that's clarity. You don't have to shout to make your boundaries heard. Sometimes reflection, the most powerful thing you can say is simply no, not no because, or no, I'm sorry, just no. Because every time you apologize for protecting your peace, reflection, you're teaching people that your comfort is negotiable. Toxic people will always test your limits, not because they don't know them, reflection, but because they want to see if you'll enforce them. They'll guilt trip you, twist your words, and call you selfish the moment you stop giving them unlimited access to your time and energy. Reflection. But when you stand firm, when you refuse to shrink to make others comfortable, something beautiful happens. You start to reclaim your power. Boundaries are not about punishment, reflection. They are about preservation. They protect your energy, your focus, your sanity. You cannot heal, grow, or find peace if you keep letting the same people drain you in the same ways. Reflection. Every time you say yes when you mean no, you chip away at your own self-worth. But when you begin to say no with confidence, you send a message not just to others, reflection, but to yourself, that your time matters, your emotions matter, your life matters. You stop seeking permission to exist on your own terms. Reflection. You stop overextending yourself for people who would never lift a finger for you. And yes, setting boundaries will cost you some relationships. But the truth is, reflection. Anything you lose by choosing respect was never meant for you. People who love your light will understand when you need space to protect it. People who love control will call you difficult, reflection, distant, or proud. Let them. You're not here to please everyone. You're here to protect your purpose. Every time you stand up for your limits, reflection, you're telling the universe you're ready for better connections, better energy, and better peace. So stop apologizing for choosing yourself. Stop explaining why your boundaries exist. Reflection. The people meant to stay in your life won't need a manual on how to respect you. Boundaries are not the end of connection. They're the beginning of real, healthy, honest relationships. Reflection, and when you finally master them, you'll notice how quiet your world becomes. Because real peace has no need to defend itself. When you stop trying to prove your worth, reflection, a powerful transformation begins to unfold inside you. For too long, you may have exhausted yourself trying to convince others that you are enough, working harder, giving more, reflection, explaining endlessly, all to earn a kind word or a sliver of respect from people who were never capable of seeing your value. Toxic people love to keep you in that place of performance. Reflection, they thrive when you doubt yourself because your uncertainty feeds their control. They'll make you feel like you must constantly prove your loyalty, your goodness, your intelligence. Reflection, but when you finally stop chasing their approval, you break the invisible chains that kept you tied to their opinions. Reflection, you begin to understand that your worth doesn't rise and fall with anyone's perception. It's not up for debate, and it doesn't require validation. You are enough simply because you exist. Reflection. Every time you try to prove your worth to someone who refuses to see it, you hand them power they don't deserve. You teach them that they can determine your value. But when you decide, reflection, once and for all, that your worth is self-defined, you take that power back. You stop explaining and you start being. You start walking differently, calmer, clearer, stronger. Reflection. You stop trying to please everyone and focus on becoming the person you were meant to be. The moment you realize that not everyone's opinion matters, you begin to breathe differently. Reflection. You see that the people who criticize you are often the ones too afraid to grow themselves. Reflection. Toxic people project their insecurities onto you because it's easier than facing their own shortcomings. They belittle you not because you're small, reflection, but because your potential reminds them of everything they could be. That's why you must never shrink to make them comfortable. Never dim your light to soothe someone who's afraid of shining. Reflection, your light will either inspire people or irritate them, but that's none of your concern. Keep shining anyway. When you stop trying to prove your worth, you stop begging to be chosen. Reflection, you realize that the right people will never need convincing. They'll recognize your energy, your heart, your value, and they'll treat it with respect. You stop performing, reflection, and you start living. You stop trying to fit into places that were never built to hold your greatness. You stop fighting to be seen and start walking like you already are. Reflection. And that confidence, quiet, unshakable, authentic, scares toxic people more than any argument ever could. Because once you know who you are, no one can use your identity against you. Reflection. Once you understand your worth, no insult, no manipulation, no lie can shake your foundation. You become untouchable, not because you're arrogant, but because you're grounded in truth. Reflection. You no longer need to prove anything to anyone. You realize that your presence, your peace, your purpose are proof enough. Reflection. And that realization will make every toxic person who once fed on your insecurity fade into the background where they belong. When you master the art of silence, reflection, you begin to understand just how powerful restraint can be. Silence is not emptiness. It's energy under control. It's the calm before the victory. Toxic people crave reaction, reflection. They feed off your outrage, your explanations, your need to be understood. They want to pull you into their chaos because that's where they feel powerful. Reflection. But when you choose silence instead of reaction, you take that power right out of their hands. You disarm them completely. Reflection. There's nothing more unsettling to a manipulative person than someone who refuses to play their game. Silence is your greatest weapon because it speaks in ways words never can. It says, reflection, I'm not available for this. It says, you can't control me. It says, I've grown beyond this level of chaos. Toxic people use words as tools to twist and provoke. Reflection. They want to trap you into explaining yourself to make you defend what doesn't need defending. But silence cannot be twisted. It cannot be used against you. It protects your peace, reflection, your dignity, your energy. When you stay silent, you force people to confront themselves, and that is something manipulators can't handle. Reflection. They hide behind noise because silence reveals truth, and truth is what they fear the most. Learning to stay silent doesn't mean you're weak or submissive. Reflection. It means you've developed emotional control. It means you understand that not every insult deserves a reply, not every argument deserves your presence, reflection, and not every misunderstanding deserves clarification. You learn that peace is often found in what you don't say. Reflection, you start realizing that your energy is too valuable to waste proving your point to someone committed to misunderstanding you. You learn to pause, to breathe. Reflection, to let time expose what emotion cannot explain. That's the wisdom silence brings. It allows clarity to rise from the noise. There will be moments when silence will feel heavy. Reflection, when your pride will beg you to respond, to defend, to set the record straight, but hold it. Don't let the need to be right make you lose your peace. You don't owe anyone your reaction. Reflection, sometimes the best answer is none at all, because silence isn't surrender, it's strategy. When you speak less, you observe more. You start seeing who's genuine, who's deceitful. Reflection, who values your calm and who craves your chaos. Silence turns your focus inward. It sharpens your instincts, strengthens your composure, and aligns your emotions with your purpose. Reflection, people will try to interpret your silence however they want. Some will call it arrogance, some will mistake it for weakness, but that's fine. Let them talk. Reflection, you are not responsible for their interpretations. The ones meant to understand your silence will feel it. The ones who don't were never meant to. Reflection, the truth doesn't always need a voice, it needs presence. And when your silence comes from strength rather than fear, it becomes a declaration that no one can control your peace again. Reflection, when you master that, you no longer react to every insult, every provocation, every attack. You respond only when it matters, and often it doesn't. Reflection, that's when you know you've won, not by speaking louder, but by standing stronger. When you learn to focus on growth instead of grudges, your entire perspective on life begins to change. Reflection, you stop carrying the weight of bitterness that poisons your peace, and you start to rise with purpose. Holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and expecting someone else to get sick. Reflection, the more you hold on to the pain that toxic people caused you, the more you keep their energy alive inside your mind. They may have walked away, but their shadow stays as long as your anger does. Reflection, growth means deciding that their actions no longer deserve your attention, your emotion, or your time. Growth means saying, reflection, you no longer control how I feel. Toxic people want you stuck on replay. They want you revisiting the hurt, replaying the betrayal, analyzing every word they said. Reflection, because as long as you're focused on them, you're not focused on your purpose. But when you shift your focus toward your own growth, you begin to starve their influence. Reflection, you take all that pain and you turn it into fuel. You start pouring your energy into becoming stronger, wiser, calmer. Instead of asking, why did they do this to me? You start asking, reflection, what did this teach me? That single shift in mindset separates the broken from the unstoppable. You realize that everything they meant for harm was actually shaping you for higher ground. Reflection, the truth is, growth requires letting go. You cannot climb the mountain if you're holding onto the stones people threw at you. Reflection, you cannot heal if you keep reopening the same wounds through anger and regret. Forgiveness doesn't mean you accept what they did. It means you refuse to let it define your future. Reflection, it's not about making peace with them. It's about making peace with yourself. You stop needing revenge because you understand that the best revenge is no longer being affected. Reflection, you outgrow the pain. You outgrow the story. You rise so high that their name no longer triggers you. Their memory no longer controls you. Reflection, that's freedom when the person who once broke you no longer has the power to disturb your peace. Reflection, focusing on growth means investing your energy into becoming everything they said you couldn't be. You channel the hurt into ambition, the betrayal into motivation. You start building, creating, reflection, evolving. You realize that every setback was a setup for a stronger version of you. Every disappointment was preparing you to value your peace. And as you grow, reflection, you start attracting a different kind of energy, people who match your effort, not drain it, situations that bring clarity, not confusion. Reflection, growth changes your environment because it changes you. Or you'll notice something beautiful happen as you grow. Silence becomes more comfortable than confrontation. Reflection, gratitude replaces bitterness, and peace becomes more valuable than pride. You stop wasting time wishing things were different and start working to make yourself better. Reflection, the focus shifts from them to you. You understand that you can't rewrite the past, but you can redesign the future. And when you keep your eyes on that growth, grudges lose their power. Reflection, toxic people fade from relevance because they no longer serve a purpose in your story. They were just a lesson on your way to becoming stronger. Growth, not grudge, is the ultimate victory. Reflection, when you learn to choose distance over drama, your life begins to breathe again. There comes a moment when you realize that not every situation deserves your energy. Reflection, not every argument deserves your words, and not every person deserves your presence. You start to understand that peace doesn't always come from fixing things. It often comes from walking away. Reflection, Distance is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's knowing that you cannot heal in the same place that hurt you. It's realizing that sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all, flexion. And the strongest thing you can do is leave. Toxic people thrive on chaos. They pull you into endless cycles of misunderstanding, apology, guilt, and manipulation. They twist your words, reflection, distort your intentions, and drain your energy until you forget who you were before the chaos began. But when you create distance, emotionally, mentally, flexion, and sometimes physically, you start to see everything more clearly. You begin to understand how much peace costs, and you realize that it's worth every ounce of separation, reflection. Distance gives you perspective. It allows you to see people not through the lens of emotion, but through the clarity of truth. You start to recognize patterns, motives, reflection, and behaviors that were once blurred by attachment. Choosing distance means giving yourself permission to protect your spirit without explanation, flexion. You don't need to make a big announcement or seek anyone's approval. You simply stop showing up where your peace keeps being disturbed. Reflection. You stop engaging with people who mistake access for importance. You stop answering calls that lead to chaos. You stop responding to texts that carry manipulation disguised as care. Reflection. You detach, not out of hate, but out of self-respect. You realize that your energy is sacred and not everyone deserves to share it. It's not your job to teach people how to value you. Reflection. It's your job to step back when they don't. And yes, the distance will feel uncomfortable at first. Silence can be loud when you're used to noise. You'll miss what's familiar, reflection, even if it was unhealthy. But stay strong, because what's on the other side of that distance is peace. The kind of peace that doesn't require constant defense. When you step away from drama, reflection, you give yourself the space to rediscover your calm, your focus, and your purpose. You stop reacting and start observing. You realize that not every confrontation needs your participation. Reflection. Some things resolve themselves when you remove your presence. Distance is not about punishing others. It's about healing yourself. Reflection. It's about creating the space you need to remember who you are without the influence of those who tried to rewrite your identity. Reflection. It's a declaration that you're done chasing closure from people who were never open to understanding you. When you choose distance, you choose clarity. When you choose distance, reflection, you choose freedom. You stop allowing toxic people to rent space in your mind, and you reclaim your emotional real estate. Reflection. Distance becomes your peace treaty with yourself, the promise that you'll never again sacrifice your sanity for someone else's comfort. And in that space of silence, healing finally begins, flexion, and drama loses its audience. So when it's all said and done, remember this: peace isn't something you stumble upon, it's something you choose. You don't need to fight toxic people, flexion, expose them, or prove them wrong. You just need to make one powerful decision to protect your energy like your life depends on it, because it does. Once you make that choice, flexion, everything starts to change. The noise fades. The drama dies. The same people who once had the power to break you will realize they can't even reach you anymore. Reflection. You stop chasing explanations and start embracing elevation. You stop trying to change others and start mastering yourself. You realize that silence, distance, reflection, and peace aren't signs of weakness. They're signs of maturity, of growth, of strength that no one can manipulate. The moment you choose yourself, the moment you say, reflection, I will no longer participate in my own exhaustion, you take back every ounce of power that you once gave away. So do this once. Decide that your peace is non-negotiable. Flexion. No matter who leaves, no matter who misunderstands, no matter who tries to pull you back into chaos, stay firm. Because when you choose peace over drama, clarity over confusion, reflection, distance over destruction, you don't just protect your life, you transform it. Toxic people can't survive in the light of self-respect. Once you stand in that light, flexion, they vanish into the shadows where they belong. And what's left is you calm, confident, and free.